got our hands full in guarding Moody and a different kind of team that Andy Kennedy's putting on the floor this year. In the past, his fours have been more dribble drivers and rebounders. This year, he's got the fifth-year transfer who's a three-point shooter, so presents a different challenge. Having worked with Andy and being as good friends as we are, that ball's going to be in Stephon Moody's hands, and they're going to ball screen. And then your coverage on that ball screen has to be real good. Like you guys heard me say the other day, our ball screen coverage from our center spot has not been good, needs to get better. And if it does not, we will be in a whole lot of trouble tomorrow night.
Frank, you mentioned it about just how lethal Moody can be. Just how do you try to limit him? And I think you just said on the teleconference, he's going to get his points. So how do you try to keep him as minimum as possible?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to make some shots, and it's who he is. He's fearless. Andy in his career, like Devin Downey, you know, when Devin played for us as a freshman, I mean, Andy has an incredible ability to keep the ball in the hands of the right guy and get him shots. And whoever his guy is, whether it was Devin at Cincinnati or I can't remember the little guard from Orlando, Florida that played for him at Ole Miss. About 5 years ago, I was at K-State. He was a real little guard. Chris Warren, or if it's not Chris Warren, then the guy off the ball, and my man that used to shoot all the threes, and Marshall Henderson, and then Moody off the ball. And now Moody's on the ball, and Andy does incredible things offensively to get guys shots. The part with Moody that you can't put him on the line, but he gets to the line 12 times a game, you know, and so like I said earlier here a couple minutes ago on the teleconference, a lot of people have tried, but somehow, some way when that game's over, he shot 12 free throws and he scored 25, 6, 7 points.
Coach, it almost seems like there's a different element to a game like this when they come off a bad loss to Florida over the weekend where they didn't play really well at all. How difficult does that make it for your guys to come in and be able to play up to their caliber, knowing that Ole Miss is probably going to want to bounce back in a big way?
That's anytime we go on the road, I hope the team we're playing won by 30 and they all sat back and were fat and happy, and unfortunately that is not going to be the case here tomorrow. Also, knowing Andy the way I know him, they probably weren't chipper yesterday at practice, and they're probably not chipper today. And then you have a young man as Stephon Moody who's a senior, and I know the competitor that he is. So he's going to, you know, him, Newby, you know, Saiz, they got good players. They're not comfortable. They're not going to be comfortable losing a game the way they did on Saturday. I watched the film. I saw the first half live Saturday night, and then I watched the film yesterday. And they didn't play up to the character of their basketball team the way they had been playing. And so they're not going to be happy. I'm sure their crowd's going to be there to help them out just the way it was here to help us out coming off our Alabama loss last week. But that's, you know, those are the kind of challenges that you got to throw your team into so you really find out what you're about and you continue to build and grow and become better.
Kind of staying with that, obviously a familiar road trip, but a new venue. How much does that change the dynamic for y'all?
Yeah, it's going to be different. You know, and here's the other part. We don't get access to their facility tonight. I don't know why not, but we don't have access to their facility tonight. So tomorrow morning will be the first time that any of our guys ever step foot in that building. So, you know, we'll see. It's an arena's an arena. You know, that's when you got experienced guys. You know, we'd never played in the Mohegan Sun either. And, you know, it's but with all that said, hats off to Ole Miss. Hats off to their coaches, their administration, their alums. Andy almost went to tears explaining to me after 10 years, for them to be able to have a facility like they have, and how nervous he was in that first game in there. I think it was it Alabama that they played in there? Yeah, because I spoke to him right after the game, and he almost came to tears. He was so emotional about the investment that the schools made to give them a big-time facility, a big-time arena.
Frank, how much has Mendogas meant to this program over the last 4 years, and especially this year? He seems to be that guy that he's going to get to the basket really when you guys need one.
Yeah, he's as good a teammate as I've ever been around. I mean, the guys in our locker room absolutely love him and respect him, and I tend to get mad at people all the time, and I struggle getting mad at him. I really do, because I know how invested he is. I know how much he cares. I know how helpful he is. I know how much pride he takes in what we've tried to build the last 3.5 years. I think over the last 3 games, I'm pretty sure he's gotten 1 defensive rebound. And that's not acceptable, but I struggle getting mad at him because I know how much just how much he cares. And, this who we are as a basketball team right now, how we play, it's a direct correlation between Mendogas and Michael. Those 2 guys have become the footprint, the staple for who we are as we continue to move forward and grow. Michael's enthusiasm and Mendogas' courage. I mean, those 2 guys are great. But Menda's as good a teammate as I have ever, in my 30 years or whatever doing this, he's as good a teammate as I've ever been around.
Couple of follow-ups on Moody. First of all, is there anybody either in the NBA or you coached at K-State who he reminds you of as a scorer?
I don't know if I've ever coached somebody like him, because he's so small, so explosive, so shifty, crafty. I mean, he just, Pullen and him are kind of the same. Pullen was a little taller, but Jake was not as Stephon is like just athletically. He jumps this high to shoot the ball. Jacob was never a big off-the-floor jump shooter. I don't know. I mean, DJ Augustine, kind of when we played him, when he was at Texas, had some of Stephon. Stephon and him were kind of similar, not real big in stature, but real explosive and crafty, and then just tough as nails. They'd make hard shots. Off the top of my head, that's kind of what comes to mind.
And is the tactic to just throw as many bodies at him as you can and try to bother him with length, or do you stick one guy at him all night, or how do you deal with him tactically?
You can't guard him small because he's just going to jump up over the top and shoot it. So you got to put some kind of length on him, and then you have to be extremely disciplined to keep him in front of you and make him shoot over defense. That way you're not fouling him, because once he gets by you, he's so crafty that he knows how to draw fouls, and you can't put him on the line. I mean, if he makes you, because if they beat you and he makes 7 off the dribble, just hard 3-pointers that he's willing to shoot, you kind of, what are you going to do? But if he gets the line 12, 14 times, that's a problem, and that's where we have to be real clean, and that's why they're going to ball screen for him. There's a certain ball screen that we call Louisville. That's our call to let everyone know what's coming. They get into that. We've counted 12 different ways for the same screen. So that means there's 12 different looks, 12 different actions that result in the same action. Same end result. So our ball screen coverage has to be solid. And if it's not, Then you give him the cracks where he can see the rim and shoot it, or attack you off the dribble and get to the foul line. And that's where we have to be very, very disciplined in our coverages. The whole idea is make sure that there's always a defender in front of him, so he's got to shoot over us, maybe make it a little harder for him to see the rim.
Frank, so you've won 16 out of 17. I think Joe touched on this earlier. If one more win and you match the win total from last year, I'm wondering in the second half of the season now what you would consider a success, because it's been so successful so far this year.
I got no idea. Success to me is figuring out a way for all of us to do our job today. That means I'm happy tonight. That means that we were all productive today. I'm not one of these that sits around. I don't look at the schedule. Like I was at the chiropractor earlier this morning. A gentleman said, "Coach, who's our next home game?" And I said, "I've got no clue." And he started laughing. He goes, "Come on." I said, "Sir, I'm telling you, I've got no clue. I know what we got this week. I got no idea after that who we play, where, when." I'm not into looking at the schedule and saying, "Well, God, we've got 16 wins. If we can figure out a way to win 6 or 7 more, that gets us to, maybe that gets us in the postseason." That's not fair to our players. So why should I be worried about winning 6 or 7 more games if we still have given 15, is that correct? 14 plus a conference. It's not fair to them. It's not fair for me to do that. That's cheating them. We'll worry about the finish line, and we'll worry about reflecting back on the season when it's over. When we're in the moment, we got to figure out a way to get a victory today. And today's victory is making sure that we all do our jobs so we help each other, so we're as prepared as we can for tomorrow. I hate the fact that I'm boring that way, but that's the way I'm programmed. I'm wired that way, and it's when it comes to those kind of things, I'm going to give you boring answers because that's kind of who I am.
There have been a few times this year where PJ's picked up a couple early fouls and had to go to the bench. If there's a chance that he's on Moody at all in the first half tomorrow night, what do you expect out of him, and what do you think you can learn about him as he continues to grow?
Yeah, that's the challenges of being a freshman and lining up against seniors. Is you better be ready to roll, and you better be disciplined. And good thing for him is that he's been out there every single game, and he's taken on other challenges. He's handled some pretty well. He's handled others not so well. He's had games where he's played well early, played bad late. He's had games where he played bad early, played well late. That's kind of the life of a freshman. I was listening to Mike White from Florida, who was on the thing before me. One of his freshmen scored 0 points and then came back and scored 27 at Ole Miss, and he had 0 the game before. It's the battles of freshmen. They have to be prepared every single night and for unbelievable challenges. And unfortunately, in high school, that doesn't happen very often. And you can get away with not being as sharp as you need to be. But PJ's been fine. He's been fine. He really hasn't gotten himself in foul trouble the way he did earlier in the year. I think it was the Vanderbilt game where he kind of went bang bang and early in the second half, I want to say. But outside of that, he's gotten better there. He's gotten better. He like every freshman in the country, whether they're a guy that's supposed to be a surefire NBA player, or he's just a freshman that was a 2-star guy, so everyone thinks they stink because they only got 2 stars. It doesn't matter. They're all making the same adjustment in college basketball. But he's got another hard assignment. He's got to be ready for it, and we have to help him.
I've got 2 for you. First one is, how's Marcus doing?
Good. He's going to be yesterday he did all the stuff, and he was fine, so he's going to be cleared to practice today. If he feels good at the end of practice, then the assumption is he's going to play.
Dwayne had said that a good week this week would be big for this team's confidence, given that it's back-to-back road games. How tough of a week is it for you guys this week?
It's, Dwayne's perspective is a guy that has experience. He understands. He's been through this. You want to stay in a positive place mentally as an individual and obviously as a team. If you got individuals that start doubting, then you're fighting yourselves rather than bonding so you can go fight the other team. And you don't ever want doubt to creep in people's heads. And, last time we went on the road, we didn't play well. We have to play better. And the thing that we have to make sure that we keep in perspective is, whether we go 2-0, 1-1, 0-2, the season's not over on January the 24th. It kind of keeps going for another 5-6 weeks. So, but mentally, it's a lot better when you win than when you lose, And when we left Auburn, we felt pretty good about going on the road. We left Alabama, we were embarrassed and didn't feel as good about going on the road. So these challenges are going to be good for us. And that's, I haven't talked to Dwayne about it, but I assume that's a guy with experience. He's been through it. He understands.
Coach talked to the players. They said that this week's been kind of different. They've been getting recognized more on campus. Have you seen a different feel or from the fans or from the students with the current winning that's going on?
Yeah, no doubt. It's what comes with success. Success, success brings attention. And with attention comes a dynamic that we have to understand how to manage and handle, myself included. I for the last 3 years, no one had an interest in talking to us about our basketball team. Local media, national media, nobody. They do the certain interviews that needed to be done on days that needed to be done, and that's it. Well, lately, Emily can attest to this. We've had to figure out a way to because I believe in giving media all the attention that they need if they're going to cover our program. We've had to figure out windows to accommodate all these different people. And I can't do all those things and ignore the most important part of my job, which is preparing our players. So we all have had to manage different dynamics that success brings. I much rather manage that dynamic than manage the one we managed 3 years ago, which is 3,000 people in an arena. Your own campus didn't care about your team. Your media didn't care about your team. The players didn't care about the team. You understand what I'm saying? I'd much rather manage a dynamic that we got right now. But it's also another step in our development as a program, as a team, and we got to learn how to handle it. All right, guys.